but we're going to continue the CFL chat as we welcome in Mark Kilam, special teams coach of the Calgary Stampeders, longtime Stamps guy. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great. What's going on?
It's awesome to be in the same room and this close to you because we've been in the CFL together for a long time, but I've just seen you on TV. I've certainly never had the chance to interview you before. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, this is a great setup you got here, too. This is big time coming in here.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and not as big time as Mark Mueller, so I feel pretty good that I can come on the show, but
would you like to have opened before him or followed Mark? What do you think is tougher?
I don't know. You know, he's way more witty than I am, so I don't know. He's pretty...
Yeah, just ask him, right? Yeah. Mark, listen, let's start with this about the Grey Eagle. When I mentioned to you guys that these are big sponsors of the Stampeders here, Grey Eagle, that was no surprise to you. You've been with the Stamps for a long time, and you've been out here for stuff?
Yeah, I've been to a bunch of rock concerts in here. I'm a metal guy. Seen like Volbeat and Avenged Sevenfold, some good bands in here.
Did you take a walk through the lobby and see all the posters? If you haven't, you should.
Yeah.
Everybody that's played here signed a thing. They've had everybody pretty much.
Yeah, and the guitars, too. Signed guitars up here, big time.
I know. Yeah, it's a fantastic spot. So you sat for the tail end of the Mark Mueller interview, and he said it's good to be back. And I think we all know what he means, that the CFL's back. And do you feel that it's business as normal? Do you feel that COVID's behind us?
Yeah, I mean, I think there'll probably be some residual stuff about that, but I mean, just looking at the whole arc of the whole COVID thing with the CFL, they did such a great job with all the protocols and trying to keep everybody safe and getting the games in. But I think everybody followed everything to a T, and now we're just trying to move forward, you know. And we're really looking forward to having a full preseason. I think, that it's an understated thing, but there's a lot of development that happens in that and evaluation. And I think getting those 2 games in is just going to put everybody that much further ahead for week 1.
Well, I didn't ask Mueller this. I'll ask you. Huff brushed on it a bit when he was here a couple of weeks ago that not having a preseason last year hamstrung teams, and particularly you guys because you were so young.
Yeah, I mean, of course, teams like Winnipeg should jump out on top of people. They had the same team. You know, they had all their veteran guys. They should jump out. If we were, you know, you're never in a reloading phase, but we did have some younger players. And, you know, from a special team standpoint, you know, in our first game, we had 11 on the field once. And it was because we couldn't find the guys on the sideline. That's a preseason issue that gets ironed out in preseason when you're alerting the next special team, that kind of thing. You know, we had a procedure penalty. We had some, you know, just these little things that they're issues that get ironed out in preseason. And I thought we saw that for the first little bit. And it took us a while to get going. And then we turned it around midseason.
Man, you should do more interviews, Mark. That was a wonderful explanation there. Yeah, no, for sure. Now, were you 6-1 to start?
No, we were in a hole.
Oh, you were the other way around.
Yeah, we were in a deep hole.
And then Bo got hurt. And do you find if you start slow, it's a tough hole to come out of?
Yeah, I mean, especially in the West. I've been in the West my whole career, and it's always a dogfight. I mean, not that the East isn't. And the East this year, they're loaded. But, I mean, in the West, when you get behind, those games early in the year, they're critical. They always show up later in the year when you're just battling for that playoff position, and each week is so big. If you win those games, you know, a few more games early, that always helps you on the back end.
Mm-hmm. What's cool about having you here is, as I watch the games, you're always, what I say, within 10 feet of Dave Dickinson. You're always on camera, very close. So is that, and Dickie was that way with Jones? Is that something with special teams coaches and head coaches, or just happens to be that way?
I think that we have to stay on the same page. I mean, you know, special teams coordinators, they observe the game like head coaches. They're always anticipating the next situation and what's coming up, and they kind of see it globally versus just waiting for offense or waiting for defense. But you know, Dave and I have a great feel now, and but I can look at him and know what's coming up if he wants to go for it or what we're doing. So I think that's why we're kind of in close proximity. We're just trying to stay on the same page.
Mm-hmm. What did Rennie? Here's the thing with the CFL. We need to talk about these things in the offseason to remind ourselves where things are at. Did Rennie retire?
No, he's coming back. He couldn't retire on that playoff game. You know, that was a tough one for him, but he's too great of a player to let that define him. And he's coming back, and Cody's back, and we've got a good group of specialists, and looking forward to it.
I had mentioned that Lee Genier was here last week. 19 seasons with the Stampeders as VP of Sales and Marketing, so you know him pretty well.
Yeah.
And he was pumping your tires to me, and I said, hey, Mark's coming down here next week. He said to say hey. And he said that he goes, Mark's a grinder, came up, through Alberta football. Tell the viewers your story, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind at all. So I was coaching high school football out in Cochrane from 2002 to 2005. We went undefeated. Those guys are still there. Rob McNabb, Bruce O'Neill, still crushing it out there. But I was doing strength and conditioning. That's what I was. That's what I was employed with. I was training the Colts. I was training the Dinos. Hundreds of Pee Wee Bantam high school kids, and just how fate works out sometimes. The new ownership group, Ted Hellard was a part of that. John Forzani was a part of that. And both of their kids played in Cochrane, and I was coaching their kids. And I remember saying to Ted, Ted, you guys, there was a couple guys that were affiliated strength and conditioning with the Stamps at the time, but not a full-time strength coach. And I said, how do you have a pro team without a full-time strength coach? And I just was working them. Finally gave me an opportunity to interview. I got hired as the strength coach, and then that season, that was 2005, and I basically just followed Denny Crehan, the defensive coordinator, around and said, Denny, like, I'll do, what do you need me to do? I'll hold this bag. I'll be the best damn bag holder that you got in your drills. And then that was what I did in 2005, and then that at the end of the year, he said, about halfway through that season, he said, do you want to go up in the box, chart calls, do personnel? I'm like, yeah. 100%. Then end of season, he offered me the quality control job, defense quality control job the following year. Still the strength coach. Did that for a year, then progressed to the linebackers coach. Then we had a coaching change. I survived. I was the linebackers coach on Chris Jones' defensive staff. And then in 2010, so I did that for a couple of years. And then in 2010, when Craig Dickinson left to go to the NFL, Huff asked me if I was interested in applying for the special teams job at the time. And you know, in my mind, I was kind of hesitant because I wanted to be on the defensive coordinator track. That's kind of where I was going. But looking back, it was the best thing I could have did. It, you know, I've kind of created a niche, and good special teams coordinators, if you have one, all the good teams do. You know, you can lose games on special teams, and it's just been that was 2010, and it's been a hell of a ride ever since.
Well, it's funny. The viewers asked if Mark Mueller had designs on being a head coach, and Mark said every coach does. So that would apply to you too, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think every coach wants to progress. You know, whether they're progressing in the role that they have and they're getting better at the stuff that they coach now, or you know, they have ambitions to take that the next step. And you know, I was fortunate to go through those head coaching interviews in 2019, and then once you go through that stage, you're really in the mix in your mind, and it's hard to think without thinking about taking that step.
Yep.
And then you go and you find yourself in situations where you're thinking, well, if I was the head coach, how would I do that differently? Or, you know, as you're going through the game situationally wise, you know, you're more aware of those things, you're heightened in that situation. So, you know, I think when that day comes, I'm just going to continue to prepare to take that step. But I've got a great job. You know, I'm the assistant head coach. I'm the special teams guy. We've got an outstanding group of players, and I know Mark touched on it, just some of the people that we've got to work with on our staff over the years. I mean, you can go through a list of heavy hitters in the CFL or head coaches or former head coaches, and a lot of them have come through the Stampeders organization. So
it's funny you say that. Was a viewer says Wayne wants to know, how does Calgary keep their coaching staffs for so long? What's the secret?
Well, they promote from within, and I think that's what Huff has done. And I think that, you know, you're starting to see that league-wide. Other teams kind of follow that model. You know, Craig Butler getting promoted in Hamilton. And, you know, when you develop a culture that can be successful, then you promote from within, you maintain that continuity. And I think continuity in a staff, especially when you have player turnover, which you're going to have every year, but even more as of late, that can really benefit you as a football team.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it's funny, 2005 you started, and we're going to have to, are you okay to stay for another segment?
Let's go.
Okay, yeah, good.
Let's go.
So Lee and I talk about this. Lee's working with us now, consulting, Lee Genier, and we downright hated each other. You appreciate that.
Yeah.
You would want that, I would think. But we had a professional respect for each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just wonder now where your biggest rivalry is. You already got that schedule in your mind for this year. You said we play the Elks 5 times.
Yeah, can't wait.
Do you have the actual dates? Can you tell me the dates?
No, can't wait. But, you know, there's when you've been around guys like Bobby Dice, you know, Ottawa special teams are always at the top, You know, you got Jeff Reinbold. Those guys are always physical matchups. That's what you know when you're going to play them. It's going to be a war, and that's really what it is. And those long time. Craig Dickinson has been a mentor for me, but they always have excellent special teams in Sask. So it's been those are the guys that have been around for a while, and you always have to reinvent yourself a little bit when you play them.
Is there a special teams coordinator that keeps you up at night?
It's more returners that keep me up at night.
Okay.
Like a couple of years ago, Janarian Grant. But that's how you know they're good players. The returners that make their teammates better, make the schemes better. Those are the scary ones, and you want those on your team.
Jeff Kibilis in Winnipeg's watching. He says, yes, Huff did a great job with his coaching staff over the years. It's quite the tree. I remember the game in Winnipeg that Grant had 2 on you guys.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking it wasn't you that wasn't in your lane. Like, what happened that night?
It's never, on special teams, there's never one thing. There's 12 moving parts. It's what kind of kick are we hitting? That game, they were just better than us. I mean, they played both of them. One of them was a middle return. They just cleared us out at POA and hit it. And then one was a pressure, and they brought it all the way back to the field, but they had chopped us up, and we didn't have a good leverage at the point of it.
Was that Zach's first game? I'm trying to remember the year. It was late in the year, was it not? I mean, you're not thinking about offense, probably. I thought that was Caleros' one of his first or second games.
I'm not sure.
I could go back and look. I mean, You're not focusing on that. But with Grant, for sure, I'm trying to think of other special teams coaches when you're preparing for a game. I'm thinking, are you concerned about scheme, or he's just making it happen on his own, the returner?
No, you know what their schemes are. I mean, that's what we do. We study that. We break it down. How can we try to take advantage of it? But when you got guys like Devontae Dedman, who he's just dangerous. He's dangerous. And we've had those guys, too, in the past. And, Roy Finch was one of the scariest players to ever play for us. Like he would make the stuff that we did better. He made the players around him better. Sometimes he'd run the wrong way and still score. I mean, that's the type of guy he was. And that's what's great about our league is that, and I don't know if we were going to get to it or not, but I'm throwing it out there right now. We're talking about all these rule changes, and everyone's so hyped on like how we can make it better. If we lose the special teams aspect of the CFL and the return game aspect of the CFL, we'll be hurting. We're hurting the league that way.
Oh, we're going to have to talk about that in the next segment. I'm not sure we have time here. It's a longer topic than we have time for. We got 3 minutes, and I think we would go on longer. You'll remind me, won't you? You will.
Yeah.
Because I just got a call yesterday morning with regards to why the CFL is looking at 4 downs and Americanizing the rules. Do you know why? If you don't, I'll tell you in the break, and then we'll carry it over.
Let's do it.
But back to the Edmonton thing with the 5 games. I was like, well, there must be preseason in there, and you said there is. We could have full stadiums for these games. Do you remember the day when that happened?
Hell yeah. And AJ Gass ripping that guy's helmet off and throwing it down the field.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what's great about the CFL.
Yeah, well, you see, you come from Saskatchewan where all you see is green. I've been telling Lee, I said, from the moment you wake up, and Mark Mueller can attest, all day, every day, it's Saskatchewan River. All day, every day. Mm-hmm. And when times are good, it's a lot. When times aren't so great, it's almost unbearable. You know what I mean? Right. So it's kind of refreshing to be out here, and I'm kind of looking around going, man, they really love the Stamps out here. They really love the Elks out here. But when you're in Saskatchewan, you don't see that, right? Because you're in your own forest.
Right.
So what I also love, Mark, is how many people here, and that alumni group is strong.
Yeah.
Right? And Sheldon Napastuk was down here, and we talk about that. They're all very closely paying attention to what's going on in Edmonton.
Right.
Right. Just what's your take on what Jones is doing?
Well, first off, I think the president they hired, Victor, is doing a tremendous job.
Yes.
I love that they connected the U of A to the Elks as well. I mean, when I was at U of A, we did play a game in Commonwealth Stadium, and it was awesome. So I think that connection is big time. I think Jones is going to do what Jones does. I mean, that's who he is. He's one of those renegades of the CFL, and there's 100 of them in this league and have been in this league, and it's going to be some good games.
Well, and that's the thing with the personnel, with Duran and Manny Arsenault and all the guys that he's signing. You've seen Jones from the inside. You know how he operates. He wants to collect the most talent, and we'll figure it all out after.
That's right.
Right?
One of the things I learned from him, too, is he's very adaptable. I mean, he's got that stern, gruff appearance on the sideline, but one thing that I learned working for him was, we could work on something all week, but then he'll change the game plan in the locker room before the game. Just to be able to adapt on the fly. So.
Yeah, well, I've said to him, it's funny you say the gruff thing, and I'm kind of with Huff. I saw the other side of Huff here the other day, but I've said to Jones, why don't you show people this side?
Right.
I don't want to. Well, it's your life, fine, but people might like you a little more if they saw that side of you, but that's his deal. Mark Kilam is with us, special teams coordinator of the Calgary Stampeders, and when you brought up the rules, whoop, everybody perked up in the chat.
Maybe I shouldn't have brought them.
No, because they love the game, right? And I'm just going through the viewers. Don Mitchell, our Navy friend, says, I cannot wait to hear the reasoning behind going to 4 downs. I'll get to that in a minute. Mike Blackbird's watching in Toronto, huge CFL fan. He says, we need more double headers with U Sports. Those are the fans we need to make the fan base younger. You're nodding your head now. So the Elks are going to do that with the Bears. What did you think about that?
I thought it was great. I think it's, it's exposing fans to another whole element that they might not go to and they might not see. I think it's going to generate a ton of revenue because you got the stadium open the whole time. So you're serving food, serving drinks. And for the U Sports guy, I'm a U Sports guy. I think that's so cool. You just get to play. You could do something with your team where you get a section and you go to go there after the game. I mean, I remember way back when the Vanier Cup was tied to the Grey Cup, and
it was awesome.
Yeah, we were both practicing in the Sky Dome, and I was like, this is super cool, and I think it's great for Canadian football.
2011 Grey Cup, there was, I think, 35,000 people in BC Place for the Vanier Cup, which was the Friday night. Yeah. I went to it because I was there. Yeah. I don't know why we went away from it or split it, but hopefully we get it back. I will say this about the 4-down thing from a conversation I had the other day. The XFL partnering up with the NFL, and that's very similar to the NHL and the American Hockey League partnership. If you follow that at all, Mark, I don't know how much of a hockey fan you are, but they try out new rules in the AHL, right? And that's what this association is supposed to be, NFL, XFL. And what I heard was the CFL still wants to be seen as a developmental league in a way for the NFL, and going to 4 downs would better prepare players for the next level if that's the NFL. Listen, when Randy Ambrosie throws that out at the Grey Cup, you think he just said it willy-nilly? There had to have been a reason, right?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I'm going to this is way above my pay grade, these rules conversations with the decision makers of the league, but I'm a traditionalist, and I don't want to be a developmental league for anybody. I know players come up here, and that's the mindset. You want to have an opportunity, you want to make some money, and then get an opportunity in the NFL. But I just think 4 downs, especially as a special teams guy. I mean, we're losing. It's not going to be as fast paced as it is. You're losing special teams plays. I think the NFL special teams are boring. Truthfully, they're super.
They absolutely are boring.
Yeah. I mean, the game has gotten better in the NFL, but that's because they copied everything that was happening in the CFL. And I think that we need to give ourselves more credit. We're always in the shadow of everything in the United States, and I think that we should stand strong.
Well, again, just to explain that, it was a developmental idea with regards to the NFL. That's what I was told. That's why Ambrosie threw it out. It's at least being talked about. But as we said in the break, you couldn't do it this year. It's far too late, and they may never do it. But I feel like if they feel they need to do it, they will do it. But I mean, with these kickoffs in the NFL, how would you change it? Because it is boring.
Yeah, I mean, you could move it up. We can't kick. Every ball is returned in the CFL, so it's not like if we moved it up, we're getting touchbacks. That's not what's happening. You know what I mean? Unless everyone's crushing it through the end zone, but there's one guy in the league that can do that. That's it. So, I don't know. You could tweak some things, but like I said in the previous segment, I really think the return game is one of the best parts of the CFL. It's exciting. It's wide open. It's another avenue for undersized returners and guys like that wouldn't even have an opportunity in the NFL to come out here and be stars. Mm-hmm. And I think I just don't want to lose that part of the CFL.
Well, you mentioned coaching high school football in Cochrane. What are kids growing up and playing in this province? 3 down, 4 down?
It's all 3 down football here. Yeah, it's all 3 down football, and we don't have a lot of. I know like in Saskatchewan, there's like 6-man or whatever, 9-man or whatever it is.
All of it.
Yeah, everything. My experience, that I grew up in Lethbridge and then played university football at U of A, but it's always been, this is what we play. Play 3-down football. This is what it is.
From the viewers, Darren Workman is watching in Salt Lake City. He says the CFL has seemed to be very adverse when it comes to rule changes. To grow the game, the rule changes need to take place at the lower levels of Canadian football, like high school. But Mark's saying nothing needs to be changed, if I got you right.
Yeah, well, I mean, you always want to, what can we do better? That's what coaches do. What are we doing better? Can we coach better? Can we tweak the rules? And the rules have totally changed in the CFL. As the time I've been a special teams coordinator, we've changed how you have to protect on the LOS. You can't punt the ball out of bounds. All those things have changed, which have changed the game. You're working different protections. Your block of 5 guard tackles, long snapper can't go till the ball's punted. Lots of things have changed, and those have been great, and we've adapted and evolved, and that's not what I'm saying. I just don't want to lose. I want to evolve the game, but I don't want to be NFL 2.0, NFL light, or whatever you want to call it. That's not what I'm.
Oh, I get it. I don't know where we're going. That's the scary part with this league. Don, the Navy friend of ours, says, what is wrong with the CFL embracing what it is? We're the number 1 Canadian league in the world. Own it and promote it. I agree. That's what we're doing today, but we need more people doing it. That's all. Jeff, the Stamps fan watching, wants to know, what is Mark's most memorable special teams play?
Terry Williams, punt return.
He just said that.
Yeah.
He said, Grey Cup 2018.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, we had a forced fumble in that game too. Riley Jones, forced fumble. Wynton McManus's hit was just a tremendous game. And here's the side backstory on that one. In 2014, we were totally overshadowed by the flag on Speedy B, right? So we won the Grey Cup. I felt like throwing up for about an hour and a half after the game because I thought that we had lost the game. It was a penalty. There was about 3 on the same play. But I carried that all the way until 2018. And the 2018, our special teams were tremendous in that game, and it was a big part of why we won. And that was a big, big moment.
Yeah, that it's interesting, the Speedy B play.
Yeah.
Let's just go back to that for a second.
Let's go back.
Well, because Tillman, very good friend of mine, Ken Austin, too.
Yeah.
Kent had a $100,000 bonus in his contract to win a Grey Cup.
Oh.
So that's what that flag cost Kent.
Right.
And Tillman, I said, was it blocking in the back, Eric? He said, well, yeah, but all game long they were letting it go, and then they call it here.
Yeah.
That was their side. Were they right?
See, here's the backstory on that one. So all season long, that's what they did. Speedy B was a field return guy. So there's a lot of questionable back corner blocks the whole season. I made a cut up, Grey Cup week. I sent it to the officials on day 1 and said, this is what they do. You're going to either call it or not. They didn't call it until that play. Obviously, it was the play that changed the game, but there was about 3 blocking the backs on that play. So, Hamilton, that's just what it was.
In the one play alone, let alone all game long.
Yes.
Wow. My mind's racing there. Because basically, Tillman was right in what he said. They've been letting it go all game. And then they call it on this.
Right.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, but they didn't know it was going to be a touchdown. He got the corner. That's when the flag came out. Hopefully we could have made the tackle. We lost the edge anyway. But that's what it was.
You guys have been in so many Grey Cups that literally never gets old, does it?
Yeah, I've been to 6.
Yeah.
Won 3 of them. I mean, I think it's different every year, Rod, too. You know what I mean? That's a different group of guys.
Of course.
It's a different feel. We're just trying to get back there, though. We got to knock Winnipeg off.
Oh, I know. Well, in my mind, I'm thinking 2017. Because over the years, there's another guy, he was a media guy, but he would go to Grey Cups, do his thing, and then fly home on the Saturday, not stay for the game. So I started doing that because I thought that makes a lot of sense. The airport's dead on Saturday. I watch the game on TV. If my team's not in it, what do I need to be there for? But the 2017 Grey Cup wouldn't be that memorable for you, but it was awesome on television. The Toronto Calgary game in Ottawa. When snow comes down, Mark, now my mind's flooding. What do you think when you look at conditions on a morning of a Grey Cup game like that?
Well, I'm checking the weather, the wind. I always do. We don't make a big deal about it, but I want to know what adjustments I'm going to make. It's different. You call different returns. As a tackler, you're not breaking down as much. You're really just shooting because you just can't. You don't have enough move. The field's too slippery to move. But that 2017 one, that was a tough one. I wanted to retire from football after that one. That was a tough loss. We were the best team the entire season, and we went into that game at 2 100-yard plays against. That in itself, that one was tough. I slept in my clothes, I remember. I just was so devastated after that game. That was a tough one.
Yeah.
But it made 2018 that much better. Made it that much better. So.
Well, speaking of icy tracks, That was ridiculous up there in Edmonton.
Yeah. Not even in the same. You had more traction on that snowy, blizzardy field, obviously, than that one in Edmonton. It was crazy. I remember we only practiced there once on day 3, and I said to the guys, the grounds crew people, like I walkthroughs going on, and I went and found them, and I said, you guys need to do something about this. Because it's treacherous, and it was. But I mean, both teams had to play on it. That's what it was. And
what gave you the edge in Edmonton, do you think?
From a special team standpoint?
Yeah. As a team, because you won.
I think that we had been there the previous 2 seasons, and I think that, we just carried it. I think maybe we just went about it different. We stayed outside of downtown. We stayed in the south end of Edmonton, which was different. Normally you're downtown right in the mix where everything's going on. We were outside of it. It just had a different feel to it. Actually, the staff was super sick. Our staff was super sick all week. Just nowadays, we would have been all quarantined, but everyone was
back
so
then
sick.
They called it the flu.
Yeah, we were so sick just trying to get through it, and it was just a different feel, and obviously it was a great win.
I got to say this. So I was saying, we talked about the rivalry back in the day, Stamps Riders, which I would hope we're all getting over. But you still, maybe it's Rod versus the Stamps, because you still have a rivalry with the Riders, right? Because there's nothing you guys like better, if I'm correct, than going in there and winning.
Yeah.
Like nothing.
Actually, I love winning when we're here against the Riders because half the stadium's from Saskatchewan.
Right.
So it's always good to see them walk out sad. It sucks if you lose, though, because then all you hear is all the...
Is it better than winning there?
Actually, winning there is pretty good, too. Making plays there is good because we've had some good games out there, and you can try to quiet that crowd down early is always a good thing.
Okay, well, I want to get to a comment from Jack in a minute, but first, so the Grey Cup this year in Saskatchewan, is that something you have in your back of the mind from day one of training camp or even now, or you are a one day at a time process guy?
Yeah, I mean, every team in the CFL, that's their goal, but it's not what you can't focus on
now.
that.
No.
Yeah, it's like standing at the bottom of Mount Everest and saying, that's what I'm thinking about. You'll fall into this crevice and die right here. You know what I mean? It's just, there's such a huge process that goes on throughout the season. And every year is different. Yeah, we've got a bunch of guys coming back. We signed our guys, but it's still a different season, and it'll have a different feel. And it's how can we improve this week? And we're focusing on what we do, and hopefully we do enough good things that it takes us.
Yeah. Well, don't you feel like every year we're sitting there talking about a tough West division and great team? Like
That's right.
Every year.
That's right. That's the West. Molded through fire. That's how we are out here. It's good.
Yeah. Well, 4 games against Edmonton seems like a lot. Of course, last year was truncated. Man, you got me thinking about it. I can't wait to go back and forth between these games. I think it's going to be big crowds.
Yeah, I do too. I really do.
What's next on your calendar?
We got the draft coming up, so that's in a couple weeks. So our staff is pretty heavily involved in the scouting. Like, we have a scouting department, but we kind of do it as a group effort. We always have, and it's we feel like the sum of all of us is greater, so that's kind of how we do it. And so we've been involved in the draft, so we'll head out to Toronto, and the regional combines are starting in the next couple weeks. So that's what we're looking at right now.
Well, I should get your take on the hand size controversy with Kenny Pickett at Pitt.
I think it's ridiculous. Joe Burrow's hands are small, but dude's a winner. Can the guy win? Measure his heart. That's what you should measure.
Which you can't.
Yeah. His leadership, his proven track record, I think that's a stat that's not, I don't see the relevance in that.
No. Well, how are you with all the other measurables, bench press reps and verticals and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think, a base level of athleticism, you should see that. And it's probably more applicable to some positions than quarterback. But quarterback, if the guy's a winner, you always got a chance.
And from Jack, he says, love everything about Coach Kilam. Great dad, great coach, great human being. Tell me about your family.
Yeah, so both my kids were born here in Calgary. So I've got 2 daughters, 13 and 10, and they got basketball playoffs this weekend, so I'm going to catch those games tomorrow. That's going to be exciting. But we're a big mountain family. We love to ski and snowboard, and that's one of the best parts about living in Calgary.
You're in the perfect spot.
That's right.
All right, Coach. Thanks to both of you for coming down. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Let's do it again if you don't mind.
Anytime.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of The Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.